agency in the Tampa Bay, and they have many awards. Most recently, they got Nonprofit of the Year, so we want to give them applause for that. And also, I want to thank them for their partnership today. She will be speaking about the different procedures here, the different laws here in Florida, and provide some tips that you may need, or you may offer someone that you may know that needs foreclosure assistance. So I would like to welcome her, and also that's behind her. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Sylvia Alvarez.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ulysses, and thank you to Lidia Medrano also for inviting me here today. Unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about a happy subject. Foreclosures, I know that everyone in this room either knows somebody, has a family member, works with somebody, or they themselves are facing foreclosure. It's an epidemic that's now gone beyond, and it's a pandemic. The Housing and Education Alliance, just to give you a little bit of history, we are, as Ulysses said, a HUD-certified housing counseling agency. We have been working diligently. We saw this coming at the end of '06. In '07, we knew it was going to hit, but we never dreamed we'd still be talking about it now, so many years later. So I'm happy to share as much information as I can with you. We're going to talk a little bit about what has happened in the market, what some of the causes are, and then afterwards I will tell you what you need to do if you know anyone that's facing foreclosure, or you yourself, what the steps are, what you need to do to minimize the effect of this tragic crisis that we're facing. So, okay, foreclosure workshops. HEA has participated in, I would say, probably about 20 foreclosure workshops. We have seen anywhere from a low side of 200 on up to 1,400 families attending here in the Tampa Bay area. As well, we tried to show pictures, it didn't show anyone's faces, so if you can see the second picture here on the right, that's a picture from the Tampa Convention Center. If you've been there, you know how big the lobby is. Anyone here ever been to Disney World on a holiday weekend? Okay. That line is outside the door. The inside, it was zigzag, just like you see at Disney World, from so many people. It was supposed to be over at 4. We didn't leave there till, some lenders didn't leave till 9 or 10 o'clock that night. This is not going to get any better in the near future, too. I'm sad to report. At the onslaught of the foreclosure crisis, I and one of my colleagues and co-workers, Walter Walker Jr., who's our Director of Education, we wrote this book entitled The American Nightmare: Strategies for Preventing, Surviving, and Overcoming Foreclosure. The book was written because we came in on a holiday, after a long holiday weekend on a Tuesday, and we had over 90 voicemails from people who were desperate because they were petrified, they were losing their homes and did not know what to do. And we knew at that point we had to do something on a larger scale. So we wrote this book. It was funded in part by Freddie Mac and sponsored by the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. It was translated into Spanish, and it was used by housing counselors and homeowners losing their homes throughout the country. All right, Florida, we've been designated the second hardest hit state in the nation. In April alone, and this number's down, this is not a high number compared to other months that we've seen. In April, we had over 20,000 foreclosure filings in Florida. And according to RealtyTrack, who's one of the primary organizations that track real estate trends, we have now 1 in every 10 homes in either foreclosure or default. Default means that you've missed your first payment. And we only see that increasing. What has happened with the foreclosure crisis is that we've seen waves. It depends on the type of program that the people had. If you had an adjustable, chances are in your first adjustment period, your rate was going to go up, and then people were not able to make their payments. most recently, we're seeing the 5-year ARMs and the interest-only 5 years that are adjusting. So we're gonna start seeing another wave of those foreclosures again. So. Now, this is really, when I did this, when I saw this information and I said, this is just unbelievable that this is happening to us here in Florida. But the CoreLogic is a company that does research. And they did a research based on zip codes throughout the whole country. And what they found out is of the top 250 zip codes with the worst delinquency rates in Florida, we had 134, the worst delinquency rates in the country, we had 134 of them in Florida. Of the top 100, we had 74 in Florida. And of the top 20, all but one was in Florida. It's pretty devastating when you look at it that way. A lot of you may not know this. I may have mentioned this before. I think you may have heard this, Lydia. There's a 10-acre tent city in St. Petersburg that has a 3-month waiting list that is full of not what you would call your typical homeless person. There are PhDs in there, there are realtors, there are lenders, architects, anyone who has been affected by the housing crisis. And can you imagine, you've got a 3-month waiting list to get into a tent city. Never, I don't think in any of our wildest dreams did we ever think, or wildest nightmares, did we ever think that we would come to a time like this in Florida. I've been in the real estate and housing market for more years than I'm going to admit to. I know Ulysses said many, many years, thank you very much. I have. And, you know, I always thought that housing was the best investment that a family could make, because we've never seen prices go down. They're still going to go down. They're still going to go down further. So, anyway. Okay, these are some statistics, and I think it's important. I want y'all to see these next 2 slides and pay attention to this because, okay, Hillsborough County, and what I did was I used the 3 counties that are here locally for us. Hillsborough County's in blue, Pinellas is in the gold, and Pasco is in that reddish-brown color. All right, you notice, those are the foreclosures, the filings between June of 2010 to April 11. You notice in October there was a big spike and then a drastic drop. Right, that's on foreclosure filings. Okay. These are REOs, that means real estate owned. These are properties that the bank has already taken back and they foreclosed on. You see the trend? High in October, see how many thousands, and then tapers off. Now, the next slide is going to give you an idea why. Go ahead.
Why is the big thing in October? Is that a ban?
No, because they were going to, well, no, they were going to continue, they actually, that trend would have continued if the next thing hadn't happened. And I'm going to, might be too small for you, but I think it's important that I read it. This was an article that came out on April 13th. It was released by the Associated Press. The federal government ordered 17 mortgage lenders, and right now I've heard it's up to 19. We're probably going to see in the 20s or 30s by the time this is all done. They ordered 17 mortgage lenders and servicers on Wednesday, that past Wednesday, to reimburse homeowners who were incorrectly foreclosed upon. The Federal Reserve Office of Thrift Supervision and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency also told lenders and servicers to hire auditors to see if they improperly foreclosed on homeowners in 2009 and 2010. I'm here to tell you that they did. About 2.4 million first lien mortgages were in foreclosure at the end of last year. Critics, including Democratic lawmakers in Congress, say they were talking about foreclosures and how they were just getting kids just out of college and throwing them in a conference room and telling them sign names. And I forgot the woman's name, but I want to say it was like Sandy Jones. There really was a Sandy Jones, but they had 12 people sitting around a conference table signing the name Sandy Jones. Then they had another room with someone who was notarizing the signature of Sandy Jones. This is still going on, although that's why you can see the drop in the filings and in all of it. And the reason is because they knew they were being investigated. So keep your ears open and watch the news as to what's going on. because there's going to be a lot more coming out, class action lawsuits against these lenders. Us in our work, we have seen where someone notarizes a document, and what happens is the person who signed it is in Virginia, but the notary who notarized it was here in Florida. You can't notarize a signature from long distance. They have to be in front of you. So this they did in an effort to just speed up the foreclosures, and many families lost their homes because of this. They didn't go through proper legal procedures to do it. Okay, now this is just my humble opinion, okay? But some of the major factors that have contributed to this foreclosure crisis is no oversight or regulation. Wall Street created a false market. Not one person there has paid for it yet. Greed, that was the main thing. And this is what really is close to our heart, is no home buyer education. We firmly believe that home ownership is still the best option if it's done intelligently, and you're educated in the process, and you're doing it with commitment and responsibility. It's still the best option. Even if a person buys a home today and it drops a little bit, you have to live somewhere. I have faith in America. I have faith that we're going to come out of this. I know we will. We've been through plenty of bad stuff in our history, and we will come out of this, but it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It took us decades to get into this mess, and it's going to take some years to get out of it. All right, there are some programs right now that are supposed to help homeowners. Unfortunately, in Florida, we haven't had that much success, although I still value the programs because it's better to have something than not have anything at all. So, Making Home Affordable, the HAMP program, is one of them. And that's the loan, that was the loan modification. It has two aspects, loan modification and a refinance. And the refinance will only do up to 125% loan to value. If you're from Florida and you have a home here, you know that you've seen the value of your home dwindle and continue to go down. In most cases, I know sometimes you hear on the news our values have dropped 25. I think that's a very unrealistic figure. I think we've dropped more like 40%. And depending on the area that you live, when you bought your home, that's very, very important. So anyway, to find out more information about the Making Home Affordable program, the HAMP and the other programs that are available through the federal government, that's the website, www.makinghomeaffordable.gov. Now, Florida is coming out with a program, which we're going to talk about in a second, called the Hardest Hit Program. That's a state program. When Florida was designated one of the hardest hit states, the federal government set aside more funding to be able to help those states recover. You can't have a full economic recovery unless you bring the housing market along too. It's just not going to happen. So they designed this program. I went to Orlando when they had a meeting there, and I commented that I did not think this was going to work. I gave them my opinion as to what would, but they didn't listen, and this is what they came up with. And I'll just tell you, what I think will work is we have to come up with a program where it's not just the home buyer's fault and it's not just the lender's fault. I think we all need to take a little bit of responsibility here. And what I recommended that we do was to do an equity sharing program where we take the value of the house today, reduce the mortgage to 90% of that figure, become a partner with your lender in that house, reduce the rate to where it's affordable for the family within, certain guidelines, and then over a period of time, if the family makes their payments on time, some specific period, I recommended 5 to 10 years, then the bank will, in sequence, reduce their equity position in the house. But now, in fact, I had a call from one of our congresspeople who asked me about that. And so apparently, they're still trying. They're trying to come up with more ideas and more ways and programs to fix this. But